Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel, The Gentleman Reviewer. So today I've got another ink for you that I'm reviewing, and this time it's one from Australia, one that's a little bit newer to the fountain pen community. So a couple months ago, I think it was maybe around March or April, I was shopping at one of my favorite stationery stores, Meininger's in Denver, and one of the staff there started talking to me about Blackstone inks. So she mentioned that they were, as I already said, a bit newer to making inks, and something that she wanted to try to get out to some other people because they had some inks with some really cool features. I was buying a new pen at the time. It was actually this one, the Retro 51 Tornado fountain pen. This has it doesn't have the new nib on it. It has the older one. I can't think of the names right now. It's not the number 6 nib that they just switched to, but I can't think of the word. I'm not even going to try. I'm going to screw it up. But naturally, I needed another ink to go with it. And as I've already mentioned in some other fountain pen ink reviews, I have a strong preference towards blue inks. So this one, she mentioned had a red sheen, which you can probably already see a bit on the videos, especially around the edges. I'll try to get a little bit of a better view of that later in the video. But I decided to give it a shot. It was a fairly good price. It ran about, actually the price tag is still on there, $8.50. So, I just had to give it a shot. It is in a weird plastic bottle, which you don't often see with fountain pen inks. And this is polypropylene, which is one of the hardest plastics in existence. I was scrolling around Blackstone's website, and they mentioned that you can actually chuck these at the ground, and it won't break. I'm not going to do that on video. I don't really want ink all over my floor in case I do break it. But if you were to do that with a glass ink bottle, it's definitely going to shatter. So this ink comes from their, what's it called? The Colors of Australia is the line that is called. So these are inspired by different areas, or just areas that are unique and popular in Australia. So they have one for the Sydney Harbour, the Uluru Rock, and a couple others as well. So let's get into this ink. Again, I chose this ink because it's a really awesome, it's like the color of the ocean when it's got a lot of minerals in it and it's just a healthy environment. Really, that really bright, deep blue that you see like in the Caribbean or something, or, by the Barrier Reef, for example. So, across the board, this ink actually performed fairly well, even on really cheap papers like printer paper, or some of my thinner papers like the Omega dot grid journal that I have. I'll do a writing sample in that one for you really quick. So this is my Omega journal, and I'm dropping ink. I am really glad I put the cap on that, because I would have dropped that on our brand new rug, which would have been terrible. My wife would have killed me. So this paper, it does not feather, which is kind of odd because this is fairly thin. I think it's 70 GSM paper. I'm not 100% sure, but you can see a bit of ghosting on the other side. No bleed through though. So I like it because you can still use it on that printer paper, which, like I say in some other reviews, I tend to use at work. It doesn't seem to feather on that. So, but diving into a little bit better grade papers, which is what I try to focus on for the reviews, because most fountain pen users are going to be using Rhodia, Leuchtturm, what else? Clairefontaine, Tomo River. Actually, let's dive into some of the other features. So dry time on this was actually pretty okay. I mean, 13 to 15 seconds. It's fairly, it's about mid-grade for ink. Some of them I've seen is up as high as 30. Others you see between that 1 to 5 and 7 mark. So 15, you can tell it's still it's smeared a little bit. 17, it was pretty good. I actually did better at 13 than 15 seconds. I don't know if I'm just counting wrong or something like that, but somewhere between 13 and 17 seconds, I guess. It It is not waterproof at all. So with the water drop test, I actually did 2 different types of tests this time that I'll keep doing. With the water drop test, I just dropped some ink on some of those crosses right there, and it wiped right off. So it's not going to stand up to any sort of being wet. Here, I just took a wet Q-tip and literally just wiped it right across. Sorry, I was getting a call right there. I hope it's not vibrating on my phone on the camera. But I literally just took a wet Q-tip and just put it right across. And it took the ink right with it. And it was actually just sitting there in the water for a little bit too. And I just wiped it right off. So it is, again, not waterproof at all. Not intended to be. The thicker nibs are the ones that tend to put down a little bit more ink. So like my glass dip pen. Let me zoom in on that for you. My glass dip pen, you can really start to see, I hope you can see it on camera, but the red sheen around the top. Let me maybe tilt it a little bit more. There it goes. I really hope you can see that. You can see it on my phone. I hope it translates to the camera. But I really like that red sheen that you get around the edge of it. And you seem to get that with pens that write a little bit more wet. So a medium nib TWSBI Eco does better than my Retro 51 Tornado with a medium nib that actually doesn't write super wet. Down here, I just took a Q-tip, so I dipped it in the ink and went right across. And especially where it gets a lot of ink at the start, you can really see that red around the corners. Then as you get farther down, it just seems to get more of that ocean blue. Again, that Caribbean ocean blue that you really see when the ocean's super healthy. I also did a couple drops of ink just for fun and to kind of fill in some of that white space that I always see there. And again, just a little light sheen around the edges. That seems to be where you really get that sheen on the ink. So let's dive into a couple others. So Clairefontaine paper. You can see some of my other reviews or my other inks that I've done in the past. Not a lot of sheen on this one. And the Clairefontaine, no, slight ghosting. I don't know. You can see that on the camera, but not bad. Traveler's Company. That's the back. So Traveler's Company, no sheen. I mean, very light bits of sheen here and there. And then a good amount of ghosting on the back, but it seems to do that across the board with inks that I've used on here. Apica, the CD5. Again, not a lot of sheen on this paper that you can see. Very light bits of sheen. And then no ghosting. Rodeo number 12, one of my favorite papers, but not a lot of sheen. I was actually pretty bummed by that because this has been, it just feels super smooth like butter when you're writing on it, and I love it. Like I said, I was really bummed that you don't really get that sheen. And I would write it and let it sit out so that way when the ink is on the paper and it's drying, it would allow that sheen to happen. So Nemesine, this one, I really hope you can see it, but this one actually, there you go. You can kind of see it there. This one actually did really well with the sheen on the ink. It's, I mean, across the words, through the words, it just looks really awesome. The camera's not doing it justice from what I can tell, but Nemesine is the second best. The number one winner, I think, was the Tomo River paper. So I'll try to get that to where you can see the sheen. I gotta tilt it in the light. But Tomo River, it did the best. No ghosting or bleed through as well. Overall, I've really enjoyed this ink. Blackstone ink. Like I said, it's a little bit newer. I think it's been around since about 2014 is when they started. And then it's just grown kind of slowly from there. Kind of getting out there on a couple of different websites. Oh, you know what? While I'm thinking of it, I forgot to do the Leuchtturm. I don't even know if I wrote in this one yet for this review. I did. I'm going to have to probably do it upside down because my camera stand isn't working too well. A little bit of sheen. Pretty good, though. I liked it a lot. And no ghosting or bleed through. Maybe just slight, but not bad. So, like I said, this ink's been around for maybe 5 years, 4.5 years, somewhere in there. And I've really enjoyed using it. It does well across the board on a variety of papers. So it's going to be something that you're going to be able to use in the office when you've got the cheap printer paper to your nice journal. They ship it in the polypropylene ink bottles, so that way you can reuse them. It can be recycled. It's actually completely vegan ink as well. Um, at least if I remember correctly, yeah, all products are vegan friendly, no animal ingredients, which you sometimes see in some of the inks. So check them out, give them a shot. They run fairly cheap, and I think they've done pretty well. Thanks for watching. As always, please hit that subscribe button, and I look forward to seeing you all next time.